We're going to talk about healing lupus and we're going to talk about healing infertility and fibromyalgia, and even if that's possible. But I'm sick of being sick. Sick of being sick. Today is day one of my carnivore journey, and I'm going to vlog the entire process. And so I'm going to talk a bit about my background, my health issues, and what it is that I'm planning on healing. And then we're going to talk about debunking some myths around this because I had to be really thorough. You're going to see from the list of health conditions that I've been diagnosed with that I needed to make sure I took this seriously and did a thorough set of investigation, and it uncovered so many things that I wasn't even paying attention to. Like the illusion has fallen, and I think with the Neptune energy we're going through right now, there's definitely a wake up call happening, and there's been a real clear path unfolding for me that I never considered within the last 20 years. And so I've made some notes about what it is I'm going to be going because I want to make sure I follow everything. And so the plan is to heal, to be my own case study and experiment around healing lupus, fibromyalgia, antiphospholipid syndrome, premature ovarian failure, and severe pain and symptoms. And I'm going to break all of that down today. The problem for the last 20 years is that my body was breaking down and nobody was able to tell me why. The system that was supposed to help me didn't. And those of you that live in the UK and been part of the NHS know full well that they don't deal with the root cause. They deal with the symptoms and they remedy your medication. They remedy you with medication for all of your symptoms rather than the root cause. And so in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with premature ovarian failure. And that was really rare back then. There's quite a few people that had it, and no one really knew why. No one really knew what was going on. And that then turned into lupus, which turned into fibromyalgia, which turned into me having a stroke, kidney stones, gallstones, tonsils removed, just a continuous inflammation within my body that I couldn't get a grip on. And so to be told at that young age, late teens, early 20s, that I am sitting in a doctor's office being told that I have menopause, I'd never have children, my reproductive system had just failed, and they couldn't give me a reason as to why. And so my body was pretty much breaking down. And at such a young age, no one was able to even give me reasons why. And all they kept doing was saying that they had no cure. And so by the time I was 25, I was infertile, had several autoimmune disorders, chronic pain, a stroke, and constant inflammation. And they told me by the time I was 30 that I'd be in a wheelchair. I'm 38 now. I'm just getting to the point now where I'm sick of being sick. I'm sick of being mugged off by these doctors that are paid a great deal of money to support us, and it's very evident that they don't. They don't do that. So I had no explanation. No doctor could tell me why, and they told me this just happens to some people. I was unlucky, and it was genetic. So I was on a carrier bag of medication, absolute full carrier bag, every single month. Repeat prescription of morphine, tramadol, cocodamol, and it's like they were just keeping me numbed off and brain dead from the world. I couldn't function. Every April I was signed off. And I got to the point where I was just so sick of being sick. I tried every single diet. I've spent the last 2 decades going through all of this and trialing all these different diets, trying to lose weight, thinking, oh, I'm carrying a lot of weight on my body. Maybe that's what's causing my joint inflammation. Never really looking at some of the triggers that were causing it. And it's only since I removed a lot of things from my diet that as soon as I now consume that, boom, we're in a flare. And so it's really highlighting to me what my triggers my health conditions. The autoimmune diseases brought about chronic and widespread joint pain, constant fatigue, rashes, heat flares, severe allergies. I was told I had a linalool allergy. My nails started becoming really brittle and breaking. I had cysts or like blisters all around my fingertips as I was sort of touching things I shouldn't. And this was just normal everyday things they tell you are safe. I've spent the last 20 years watching my body fail, and it's only now that I'm watching people come into the health food shop, coming into the crystal shop. People in my community are saying that they've got the same symptoms as me, they've got the same issues, that I'm now going, this is getting more and more and more into sort of like an epidemic, isn't it? It's getting more and more widespread. What I've tried over the last 20 years is pharmaceuticals, because that's the first route of call, first point of call for your doctors to go, there's a tablet for that, here's a pill for that, encouraging you to continue to do the same things you're doing to your body, but then consuming a pill because of it. I've had immune suppressants, hydroxychloroquine, which became quite popular during said pandemic in 2020. I've had steroids to suppress my inflammation, and then, as you know, when you take artificial steroids, your body stops making its own, and so it becomes very difficult to ease your weight off of steroids to support your joint pain. So you just become in this loop. I've been on blood thinners such as warfarin to stop me from having another stroke, which then threw another spanner in the works for every other condition. So when I went to explore my right to have IVF treatment, I was told no. In order for them to give me an answer for the IVF, they then had to refer me back into this like circus wheel of the NHS for me to, oh, we can't make that decision because it might kill you. You need to get approval from this doctor. Oh, no, I can't decide that. You need to get approval from this doctor. Not one doctor was willing to take accountability for me going through the NHS route for IVF despite being infertile since I was 19, 20. And so that's where the anger rose in my body, and I was like, I'm not going to be told that I can't become a mother because who the blinking hell do you think you are? And I got really angry. As we know, all of these physical conditions impact our mental health, and I went down some really dark paths trying to heal myself. And then obviously I had painkillers, repeat prescriptions of morphine, tramadol, codeine, oxycodone. Nothing was working. I've tried CBD oil under my tongue, the whole lot. And some things work, some things don't work. Ultimately, you're not dealing with the root cause, you're just firefighting all the time. And so I've followed, I've done Weight Watchers, I've done Slimming World, I've done Terry Ann 123, I've done a keto diet. And I tend to find that they aren't, in the long term, dealing with the root cause. They're just telling you to watch what you eat, add up all the points, still eat all those bad sugary foods, but because you're eating less of it and you're losing weight, you get this sort of temporary healing going on within your body. And so I need to stress the reason that I'm now researching this carnivore diet is not because I want to lose weight. That'll be a wonderful benefit of following that. But I'm doing it to improve the quality of my body's ability to deal with inflammation and not keep triggering the root cause within my system. I mean, I've done the vegan diet, I've done the vegetarian diet. Because you hear these people saying, oh, this will work for this, and by cutting out this, the logic they put to you makes a lot of sense. And so as I've been researching this carnivore diet, I've actually gone back to the 1700s in the history of our food, because I wanted to know what was optimal for a human to eat, because that seemed like the best space to start, rather than passing my power over to someone who was telling me do this, do that, try this, try that, pulling you all over the place, and then you've wasted a year, another year trying all these different diets and fads and healing protocols. I wanted to really look into what does the human need to thrive. That seems like the logical space to start. So that's where it led me down this whole carnivore journey, and I was really inspired by Michaela Peterson and Jordan Peterson, their story, because Michaela Peterson reversed all of her symptoms of autoimmune disease. And that's where they're saying to me, your body's attacking itself. So giving me this impression that my body wasn't normal or functioning correctly, when actually it was trying to keep me alive and keep me safe. The inflammation was causing all the symptoms within my body. Really, we need to have these sort of conversations. And this is why I want to open up the conversation for what I'm doing right now, in case it inspires someone who's got lupus, fibromyalgia, antiphospholipid syndrome, had a stroke, is infertile. I had a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old come in within the same week into the health food shop. And because of their insulin resistance, they were told they'd never be able to have children. 13 and 14 years old. Our sperm count has dropped by 50% in the last 50 years. We are the least healthy that we've ever been. And what I had to do was really go, well, logically, if we think about the body and the soul and all of these things that we are wanting to reproduce itself, it wants to reproduce the healthiest version. It's natural selection, isn't it? And so if you're not in a healthy state, why would the body want to reproduce itself? That's probably one of the first things that's going to go. That's probably one of the first things that's going to start breaking down. And that was how it played out for me. And this is just me putting two and two together and trying to piece all the puzzle pieces that have been presented to me over the last 20 years, trying to put them together. Even gluten-free diets, dairy-free diets, going soya, fast-inducing, raw vegan diets. I've had the shakes diets, and they all help you lose weight and you all feel a little bit energized, but it wasn't healing the root cause, and my symptoms still existed. And so I felt like I was running around in circles, desperately trying to fix my body while missing the two biggest pieces of the puzzle, and they only came to me in the last month. I fell ill with this, we call it the flu. the body's natural ability to detox and to remedy. And we know that EMFs and electrical overwhelm causes and triggers a lot of these things. Just read the book, The Invisible Rainbow. You don't have to believe me. Read The Invisible Rainbow and tell me what you think about electrical diseases. Call in flu. And I think, well, that's interesting because your fluctuation of energy over the last, what, end of December, beginning of January, I started going through this whole process of everything coming out of the system. My throat was swollen. I was detoxing. Every time my foot hit the ground, boom, my mercury teeth really hurting. And I'm going, there's something going on within my body. I need to pay attention to this. And so I started to realise that my mercury fillings were leaching into my body, causing inflammation in my gums, my throat, my ears. And what mercury does, as I've got a load of notes here, because I'm not a doctor, not a healing expert. Do not follow what I'm saying. This is just my journey, trying to heal myself because I've had enough. I am sick of being sick, and I'm sick of these flare-ups. I'm constantly up, down, up, down, up, down like a yo-yo. No more. Cannot do it anymore. I want to be a mother, and I'm really hoping that one day I will be able to reverse this and get my body into a state of being well enough to maybe wake up some of the organs that have sort of shut down and get my body into a state of wellness where I wake up in the morning feeling able rather than disabled. So let's go to my mercury notes because I want to make sure I cover absolutely everything so that you've got clear information as to why I'm doing what I'm doing and how this is unfolding for me. And I'm going to vlog the whole process. This is day 1 of my carnivore diet, and I'm literally going to be eating meat and eggs for 90 days. 90 days, because a lot of people that have come in here that have tried this diet have been in menopause already. I had a 53-year-old. She went into her menopause at 43 and tried the carnivore diet for 6 months. All of her periods came back in 53, even despite 10 years of being periodless. And so that's fascinating. If that's a possibility, then there's no reason as to why I could potentially not do the same for my own body, despite it being for 20 years, right? But I needed to look at this. I thought, I need to know what the body's going to be doing when I'm detoxing the mercury out of my body, because detox symptoms are very real. And I don't want to put my body under so much pressure because my liver and my kidneys are already going to be working to eliminate all of these things while I'm on my carnivore diet. Processing the toxins in the system, getting rid of all those old foods that are indigestible, all the inflammation in the body. My body is going to be going through a complete reset, and that's not going to be an easy process. So I wanted to make sure I was giving my body the best chance of healing itself without all of those sort of hiccups along the way. Mercury and cholesterol, because everyone keeps going, oh, your cholesterol goes up when you're on a high fat diet. There's a myth behind that. And like I say, I need to remind you, I'm not an expert. I am just someone, just a girl, just a woman trying to heal herself and maybe provide a little bit of hope to other people that are also being diagnosed with these diseases and their doctors haven't ever supported them to really look at what was the root cause, what triggered their dis-ease and their discomfort in the first place. And it's almost intentional. I'll let you decide that. There's a lot of things I can't cover on here because I don't want to be censored, and I'm a free speaking kind of gal. I just roll with it. But I'll always change my mind about something when I'm presented with new information because I think the truth stands up on its own leg, and we have to now look at every avenue and possibility of what's going on and what's unfolding within in front of us. Dr. Michael Yeadon, ex-GO. Thank you so much, Craig. I really appreciate that. You are a gem. I am going to pop that in my notes before I start I've literally got a little notepad. This is great. You see, this is how we don't pass our power over to lots of people that seem like they know what they're talking about with millions and millions of followers and things like that. People that resonate with you will come, but I can't do that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I'll definitely look into it. And so mercury toxicity. Yeah. We don't really realise the risk that we're doing. And the ironic thing is that 3 years ago, I started to get allergies come up. So I was told I was allergic to acrylic. I was told that I was allergic to linalool, which is the scent within certain fruits and vegetables that when they're exposed to oxygen, they create a smell. And that's how we get our perfumes. And so suddenly I had a perfume allergy. Like if a man comes in with that really cheap aftershave, like Lynx or something disgusting on, I have to cover my nose because I feel my throat closing up. And if you watch the documentary Stink, you'll understand why that is the case. There's basically a story about a dad that was investigating all the symptoms of perfumes on our body. And so know what you're putting on your skin, because actually it's triggering. I was walking about 3 meters behind someone the other day and I've got my scarf wrapped around my face. And I feel like those people think I'm rude, but I need to cover my face. Like, it's awful. It doesn't smell very nice, firstly. But secondly, those toxins are leaching into your skin when you spray them on. And so I really had to look into what's going on within my body. How am I causing this effect? Because one of the universal laws is cause and effect. And we often say to people, you're not to blame. Look at the narrative that was going around in US schools. You're not to blame. You've been born into the wrong body. We need to stop this psychological warfare because it's damaging people's bodies, and we're taught not to push back and have a voice and express our opinion. And it's through public conversation where we go, well, I've tried this, it didn't work, that we can really start to eliminate all of the issues with what we're consuming and start to streamline the consumption that's beneficial for us, that allows the body to be optimal and to heal itself. And so once I realised everything that I'd tried had failed, I knew that I was missing something completely. And no medication, diets, or detoxes have ever reversed my symptom. They've just temporarily made it a little bit easier. But nothing ever really lasted. And even that vegan diet. And when you look into the vegan diet, I'm now convinced it's a psyop. That's just my opinion. If anyone wants to present me with alternative information and have a fair conversation, I'm all for that. But what I won't tolerate is when people start criticising the person rather than the information. We've got to level up the way that we communicate with each other, as we are never going to get through the times ahead. If we can't address the core information that we're being presented with and have a debate like adults, or have a backwards flow of conversation like adults in an emotionally intelligent way, we are never going to be able to move forward. We are always going to be divided and we are always going to be conquered. Unification is the way forward, and I so truly believe that. And that's why I'm so grateful to you, Craig, for sharing that beautiful information, because we can't blame someone for not knowing what they don't know. You can't know what you don't know. But once you know better, it's so important to do better. And that is my motto for this Radiate journey. All of this live will be conducted into a video that will go on my Radiate channel to support you to radiate from within. I want to wake up every morning radiating and glowing. I do not want to wake up every day suffering in the pain and the discomfort. I mean, I've even got issues with my joints in my shoulder today. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm sick of being sick. And so if it's not just an immune malfunction, what was it? And what if something external is causing my body to break down? And so I came across all of the symptoms of mercury toxicity as I was researching getting these fillings removed. Because about 3 years ago, I turned around to my dentist and I said, I think I'm allergic to mercury. And he said, well, if you're allergic to mercury, we need a letter from your doctor to confirm that. I'll wait for you to stop laughing and just have my coffee while you get through that. Because mercury is a neurotoxin and every human's allergic to it. And they knew this in the 1800s. Because if you look into where the origination of Mad as a Hatter came from, that was because all the top hats they wore in the 1800s had mercury lined around there, and it was leaching into their brain, causing psychosis, memory issues, brain fog. So why are they putting it in our mouths? Just a question. Just a question. Don't want to sound like one of those little CIA terms of the conspiracy theory. Just a question to ask when we know what the toxicity does to our bodies. Why are we allowing it in our mouths? And so I sensed that all of my fillings started breaking down recently, and they're less than they were when they were first put in. And so I thought, right, if this is going to be happening, then why I'm going to put in pressure on my body, because I learnt that mercury is stored in the fat cells and the organs. So as I start to lose fat in my body, all of those mercury particles are going to immobilise and my body is going to go into inflammation. And that's potentially why we get the keto flu or the carnivore flu, because it's not that our body is struggling with it. That's where people can't get past that first hurdle. It's that our body is now heavily detoxing and resetting, and that doesn't happen overnight. I had mercury fillings in place as a teenager. I think about 17, which is so young to have your teeth wear down, right? When they're meant to last you your whole life. Why are we so sick so young now? And so the more I dug into the effects of mercury, the more I realised that his symptoms are identical to the diseases that I was diagnosed with. And I thought, that's fascinating. That's my word, fascinating. Um, Again, don't believe what I'm saying. Do your own research. I'm not here for you to follow and mimic. I'm here for you to put things on your radar that you might not have considered before, in the hope that it benefits your life in some small way. But always do your research. I am just a woman on the internet. Remind yourself of that. I'm just a woman on your screen, and I have no part to play in your daily life. You must make sure that you are owning your path, that you're researching everything you hear, and to not pass your power over to anybody that's spouting off information on the internet. I am just here to share with you something that you may not have considered, so that you can go and look into it and decide whether that is something that resonates with you, that could have caused your dis-ease in your body. Yeah. And so the key things that mercury does in the body: it mimics estrogen and disrupts your hormones. It damages the nervous system, leading to pain, brain fog, and chronic fatigue. It causes autoimmunity by making the immune system attack healthy tissues. It creates oxidative stress and inflammation, the root cause of nearly all disease. And it builds up in the kidneys, liver, and brain, slowly poisoning the body over time. And so the first thing I had when I was 21 was kidney stones. I also had infertility, so my estrogen would have been impacted. Brain fog, chronic fatigue, though that's lupus and fibromyalgia. There's all these fancy words they make off, and they pass over and they share it all with you, and they go, oh, it's just this. Here's a medication for that. It's just that. Here's a medication for that. I'm not popping pills anymore. Take your pills and shove them where the sun don't shine. Not for me. Thank you very much. Oh, you can tell how passionate I am today. I'm sick of being sick. And so let's break this down into look at where it replicates, where mercury crosses over with symptoms of each of the conditions that I've been diagnosed with, just so you can look into. I don't know if you might be a parent looking to help your child who's been diagnosed with premature ovarian failure, or PCOS, or endometriosis. All of these things that happen within the body aren't natural, and they shouldn't happen so young. Yeah? Here's where we take our power back. So, mercury and premature ovarian failure. I'm wondering whether mercury destroyed my fertility. And so premature ovarian failure is when the ovaries stop functioning years or decades before menopause. I was 19, 20 when this happened for me, and I'm now 38, going to be 39 this year, so it's nearly 20 years. Doctors told me it was random and irreversible. Yeah, there's no hope. You'll never be a mother. But mercury toxicity directly damages the reproductive system. And so how does mercury affect fertility? Got loads of notes. I'm not the expert. I'm just sharing with you my research and what I found out. And this is what I really want to do on Patreon channel, is go deep, 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 because this goes back to some really wealthy families deciding massive things about our communities and what we had access to a long time ago that's affecting us now. And you can see the timeline of history overplaying, the timeline of our food being changed, the timeline of pharmaceuticals rising. It's all linked together. And so how does mercury affect your fertility? It disrupts your pituitary gland, which controls ovarian functions. It mimics estrogen, throwing off your hormone balance. It blocks progesterone production, making ovulation impossible. It reduces ovarian blood flow, leading to early ovarian failure. And it causes mitochondrial dysfunction in egg cells, leading to cell death. You'll be sick and infertile. Have we heard that before? Premature ovarian failure and mercury symptoms overlap. High FSH, which is where your brain is trying to get your ovaries to trigger an egg, and low estrogen causes pituitary damage. Anovulation causes hormonal imbalance, and early menopause caused by ovarian toxicity. And so was mercury the reason that my ovaries shut down? If my body was poisoned, would detoxing allow my hormones to function again? And so that's one of the things that I am going to be actively researching. It was to heal my fertility. I think it's time that I tried to become a mum, even though mentally I've had to park it because I never thought it was possible for me. And so that was really what triggered me. But actually, I think a lot of things are going to be remedied. That's just my hunch. I can't possibly know that. I'm just being inspired by other women, other men that have tried this diet and seen all of their symptoms reverse. And so now let's move on to mercury and lupus. Was my autoimmune disease triggered by heavy metals? Lupus is an autoimmune disease where the immune system attacks the body's own tissues, causing chronic inflammation, joint pain, rashes, and fatigue. Doctors claim the cause is unknown, but mercury poisoning is a known trigger for autoimmune disease. So, how does mercury trigger autoimmune disorders? Mercury binds to proteins in the body, making them look like foreign invaders. The immune system attacks mercury covered cells, mistaking them for a threat, creates hyperinflammatory response, leading to chronic disease, and it destroys gut bacteria, leading to leaky gut, which is linked to lupus, where all the nutrients leach out of your gut lining because it makes it more permeable. And so, lupus and mercury symptoms overlapping. Chronic inflammation and joint pain caused by immune overactivation, severe fatigue and brain fog caused by mercury's effect on the mitochondria, and rashes and skin flares caused by oxidative stress. And remember, your skin is one of your biggest organs, so it's constantly trying to detox. That's why we get spots, that's why we get inflammation. So now let's look at mercury overlapping with fibromyalgia. Was my chronic pain heavy metal poisoning? Fibromyalgia is a mystery illness. Again, all mysteries. We don't know where it comes from. Let's make this stuff up. Let's make this stuff up. I'm convinced of it. It's a mystery illness characterized by chronic, widespread pain, brain fog, and extreme fatigue. It's considered incurable and has no known cause. This is what I mean. They're making it up. They don't know the cause. They're never ever treating the root cause. But mercury is a direct neurotoxin that damages the nervous system. It destroys nerve endings, leading to hypersensitivity and chronic pain. It blocks calcium channels in neurons, causing misfired pain signals. It inflames the brain, leading to cognitive dysfunction and memory loss. And it damages the mitochondria, leading to severe fatigue. And so, where fibromyalgia and mercury symptoms overlap, widespread nerve pain caused by neurotoxicity, extreme exhaustion and muscle weakness caused by mitochondrial damage, and memory issues and brain fog caused by inflammation in the brain. They knew about this in the 1800s, so why they're putting them in people's mouths, I don't know. And I know it's just been banned, but there's a whole load of generations of us that have now got these things in our mouth that we need to pay a lot of money to get them removed. And so they're really being gatekeepers for who gets to be well and who gets to suffer in silence. Was fibromyalgia a symptom of mercury poisoning? I'll let you decide. It's just that the two coincidentally overlap. And so that became very interesting for me in my journey to wellness. Ask your doctor next time you're in front of him, what's the root cause of this, doctor? They are not a Scooby, because it turns out all of their textbooks were written by the pharmaceutical department. And so it's a really the system that we put our health and faith into is orchestrated by the pharmaceutical company, because it is not cost effective to heal you. Because if they heal you, the hospital don't get any money. I think good people get into the system to help you, and then they get into the system and they go, holy, what is this? And I'm saying that as someone who used to work for the government, yeah, and had a very rude awakening. I genuinely believe the government had your back. I genuinely believe the government were invested in their people. I genuinely believed I could go and be a good teacher in the community and help young minds. And then COVID showed me different, and my degree showed me different. But it taught me how to really balance information in my mind and hold multiple perspectives. Because before that, I just accepted what I was told. And I'm not afraid of admitting that, because I think on some degree we've all been in that space, and we need to normalise that, because we're trying to be superhuman to keep up with everybody else and not really accepting where we may have been hoodwinked or lied to or been lying to ourselves. And so part of the acceptance of that is part of the inner healing work that needs to happen. And I think now that's why I'm able to look at my dis-ease from a whole different space. And so let's cover now why mercury and antiphospholipid syndrome overlap. Was my blood clotting disorder caused by toxicity? APS is a disorder where the immune system attacks blood cells and increases clotting risk. So it's linked to miscarriages, strokes, and autoimmune disease. Mercury is directly linked to vascular inflammation and clotting disorders. And so let's have a look at how mercury affects blood clotting. Mercury affects blood clotting by inflaming blood vessel walls, increasing the clotting risk. It alters platelet functions, making blood stickier. They call it sticky blood. And increases oxidative stress, which thickens the blood. So you've got thick blood, strong blood, thick blood. Antiphospholipid syndrome and mercury symptoms overlap. Mercury increases the clotting risk caused by mercury-induced inflammation. Autoimmune attacks the blood cells triggered by mercury in the bloodstream, and increased stroke risk linked to heavy metal exposure. And so if mercury toxicity was behind my APS, is detoxing going to reduce my symptoms, my clotting risk? And I just blindly, numbingly, almost in a hypnotized state, was just blindly followed. And I wonder if that's a symptom. I know that repeat programming, when you repeat something for 8 weeks, you will believe it no matter how much you're presented with alternative information. And so, as someone who was exposed to the damage of this system, I had 20 years worth of repetitive, you're ill, you're never going to get better over and over again. So I eventually believed it. That is where I took my power back. And now I don't see that doctor. And I called her a liar to her face. She's like, why don't you want to come into my appointment? I said, because you're a liar and I want to stay alive. Thanks for your time, but no thanks. And we moved on, and I don't see her anymore because staying alive is the most important thing without sounding like a cheesy BG song. And so, mercury and allergies, let's cover that now. Was my body rejecting toxins all along? Over time, my body became hypersensitive to food. This wasn't something that happened overnight. This was something that accumulated over time. My body became hypersensitive to food, chemicals, and even scents, as I mentioned earlier on. My immune system reacted to everything, but mercury toxicity is a known trigger for immune hypersensitivity. So, how can mercury cause allergies and sensitivities? It weakens the liver function, preventing proper detox, and I've got a fatty liver. It increases histamine, leading to allergic reactions, and it destroys gut bacteria, leading to food intolerances and chemical sensitivities. Severe allergies and mercury symptoms overlap. They can cause food reactions caused by gut damage, extreme chemical sensitivity caused by detox system failure, and mast cell activation caused by chronic toxicity. So can you see how all of this is building up over time? And they're all overlapping and they're given different words and definitions. Your body's just trying to detox. Your body is the most beautiful tool you have, and it knows how to heal itself. We just get in the way because we've been taught to trust carbohydrates and sugars and that bottom of the food pyramid that came out in the 1950s over what our body is deeply telling us is wrong. And so, was mercury the root of everything? Because the timeline for me was fillings went in my mouth, then I became infertile, then I got diagnosed with lupus, then fibromyalgia, that turned into a stroke. I had the kidney stones, I had the gallbladder removed during the lockdown that we had in 2021. And the most interesting thing is that the gallbladder is responsible for detoxing all of those things. And so a really beautiful thing that you can use for heavy metal detox is zeolite, which is a bentonite clay mix, and charcoal. It pulls all of that stuff out, but you must do it safely. Don't just go and buy charcoal because it can trigger other things within your system. So I just need to caveat. I'm going to go on the carnivore diet to fix all of these things. What's going to happen to my body as I start to lose fat? All of the body is going to start healing the inflammation, but also releasing those mercury toxicity. So I'm going to be pairing it with methylene blue to help my body reset, and charcoal, bentonite clay, zeolite. And I'm going to be really supporting my body to detox all of those things as I lose the weight, because I don't want to overload my liver because it's already fatty, and I need the fats to be removed from that part of the body so that my body's detox organ can do what it needs to do. And so the pushback a lot of people have on the carnivore and fat diet, without going into the history of the lies of our food, is the myth of cholesterol, which we know we're facing right now with them forcing us onto statins when they get to 70. And I completely disagree with that, because none of us are taught in school how the body functions, why cholesterol is even important to the body. We're taught to demonise it, and they lower and lower and lower and lower the amount of safe cholesterol and the LDL and the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol. That's nothing good or bad. It's completely polarising you. This is why they want you over here voting for blue, and then they want you over here voting for red, and they get you rocking backwards and forwards as we go, oh no, blue, they're the bad guys. Oh no, red, they're the bad guys. Conservative did this, Labour did this. Oh, hold on. We don't need any of this system. We need a new system. Yeah? And don't buy into what Farage is saying either. He's not campaigning for all these lines in the sky, and he's not campaigning for the risks of 5G towers either. Look in the invisible rainbow at what the toxicity of all of these things do to the body, because that's what was unfolding in 2020. It's all coming to light so that we can now work together. So let's stop dividing ourselves. Cholesterol. If you've got someone who's been put onto statins, please share this video with them, just so they can be highlighted the information at first and then do their own research. Because it's more than my integrity and my heart is worth to mislead or lie to somebody. The only time that we'll ever mislead someone is because I'm misleading myself. And so it's really important that we have these conversations. And it's so important that when someone presents information that you don't know, to go, oh, I didn't know that. Now that I know that, that completely changes the way I look at X, Y, Z. And so by the big mainstream top-down pyramid guys, They have convinced us and drilled the narrative into us that cholesterol clogs your arteries, fat causes heart disease, and red meat raises your cholesterol and increases the risk of death. But where did this fearing come from? And more importantly, is that true? And so I'm going to be starting a high fat, high cholesterol diet. So I need to be fully debunk this myth for myself, because it's not, if I was going to eat something, nothing but meat and fat and organs, I had to be absolutely sure that cholesterol wasn't my enemy and it wasn't going to cause any more disease. So let's break this down. Where did the cholesterol myth start? In the 1950s, a scientist named Ansel Keys conducted a study where he falsely linked dietary fat to heart disease. But here's what no one else tells you. His study was a complete fraud. He cherry-picked his data, ignoring countries where people had high-fat diets but low heart disease. He excluded data that showed sugar was the real problem. And he study funded by industries that profited from processed foods and medications. Where have we heard that before, right? And so by the 1970s, his research became the foundation for the US dietary guidelines, and that's where we found all of the food pyramids started to be promoted to us, with all the carbohydrates and grains at the bottom. Um, Governments told people to eat less fat and more grain. Doctors told people to lower their cholesterol, and pharmaceutical companies created statin drugs to force cholesterol levels down. The result: heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and autoimmune diseases exploded. Yeah. Last 50 years, we've seen sperm count decrease by 50%. Why is that the case? What happened 50 years ago that we're now paying the consequence of? If cholesterol was the problem, why did disease rates skyrocket, when we lowered it? That should make sense. When statins came in before, we should have seen a decline. Yeah. And so we let the evidence speak for us. We don't need to be convinced. You don't need to sales pitch us. We can see the evidence clearly. And that's something we want to buy into, right? This is exactly how cholesterol works in the body. Cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease. It's the body's emergency repair system. Cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease, it's the body's emergency repair system. So when there's inflammation coming in, the firefighters go into that space, which is why they find cholesterol in these spaces. The firefighters go into the space to eradicate the fires, and we're taking statins to send those firefighters home. So when your arteries are inflamed, cholesterol is sent to patch up the damage. If you have oxidative stress, cholesterol increases and protects your cells. And if your diet is full of sugar, seed oils, and processed foods, your arteries get damaged, so cholesterol increases to heal them. Blaming cholesterol for heart disease is like blaming firefighters for fires. It's actually trying to help you. You're killing your firefighters and your house is burning down. Yeah. So it's time that we started looking into what is the purpose of cholesterol. That was my main question, because I didn't want to go fall down all these things of being hoodwinked if it wasn't the case. So if cholesterol isn't the enemy, then what is? Seed oils and vegetable oils in these industrial oils create massive oxidative stress in the body. Sugar and processed carbs spike insulin, causes inflammation and damages your blood vessels. Toxins and heavy metals like mercury, lead, and aluminium inflate and inflame the cardiovascular system. And chronic stress and cortisol dysregulation contributes to arterial stiffness, and plaque buildup. Yet we get told to cut out animal fat, lower cholesterol, and eat more heart healthy grains. And so what happens when people follow the advice of lowering their cholesterol? If high cholesterol was so deadly, why do people with high cholesterol live longer? Why your body needs cholesterol, the truth that you've never been taught. Cholesterol is not poison. It's one of the most essential substances in the body. Cholesterol is the raw material for every hormone in your body, including estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and cortisol. Your brain is 60% fat, and cholesterol is critical for cognitive function. Cholesterol is essential for immune response and cell repair, and it produces bile acids, which help digest fats and absorb nutrients. If people started fixing their hormones, brain health, and immune systems naturally, they wouldn't need medication. And this is why statins, cholesterol lowering drugs, are one of the biggest medical scams, I think, in history. His story. Back in history, which I'll go into in tomorrow's live, we're eating the nose to tail. So when we were hunting for our meat, we would eat every part of the organ. When we were hunting for our meat, we would eat every part of the animal. Yeah, the fat, The hides would be used for your clothing and your covers. The fat would be used. The meat would be used. The organs would be used. So not one thing was wasted. And the most important thing was that they gave gratitude for that animal and its sacrifice for them, um, to stay alive. So we were so much more spiritually in tune with our meat and our food back in the day. This is going to go on my Radiate channel. And so the way that things will work moving forward is my personal vlogging journey of carnivore, what I'm doing, recipes, where I source things from, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and all that is going to be on Radiate with the aim to help you to radiate from within. My company is called Luminary Resonance because I want to resonate in light. Luminate is to illuminate where we might have not been looking at information before. So I'll be covering all of the myths and debunking things on there and doing deep dives on that channel. And then for those of you that are on a healing journey, I'm going to be putting all of this information out on my Radiate TikTok, YouTube, and all of those beautiful platforms. So you have a beautiful day. And like I say, if you feel that you are resonating with my path and my journey and where I'm at right now, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, share some support, click on the links in Buy Me a Coffee. I'm sending you lots of gratitude and love for those of you that have subscribed, liked, and followed my channel. You have a beautiful Monday, and I'll see you all tomorrow.